Hello, everyone. Matt Brunig here. It's been a long time since I've done a YouTube video. I don't think, on hopping back in necessarily, but I have something for the moment that I think calls for a video demonstration, and that is, as the title of the video says, the best NLRB research tool in existence. I don't have my head popped on today, so you'll have to do without my beautiful face, and instead just watch me navigate Firefox. But to take a step back, the NLRB, if you're unfamiliar, is the National Labor Relations Board. It is the administrative agency responsible for the National Labor Relations Act. It is the enforcement entity. It has adjudication, so you bring your case there, and they have administrative law judges, and then they have a 5-member board, and you can file unfair labor practices there, and you can file election petitions there, and they kind of manage, most people think of as kind of manage our union system in the U.S., but you also have individual rights under the NLRA that apply even if you're not in a union. So it's not exclusively a union administrative agency. But I have created a tool that I think will help people who practice at the NLRB or who work at the NLRB, or if you're a union rep or a union steward, or if you're just a maybe slightly above average intelligence person who, is willing to read and search through things and can kind of, understand these things, which I don't think is that difficult. I think this tool could help you a lot. So to take a step back, let's say you wanted to learn things about the NLRB. You can Google some stuff, you try to, but if you're a practitioner especially, you really want to get into the cases and decisions of the NLRB. The NLRA, the National Labor Relations Act, is a statute, so you can read the statute, but the statute is from 1935, and back in the day, those statutes, you'd basically write a sentence that said something like, it's illegal for employers to do unfair labor practices, and we're setting up an agency to stop them, and it's up to them to figure out what that means. So, there is some stuff in the statute that's worth reading, but for the most part, all the action happens in the board cases. So if you're trying to research board cases and NLRB law and stuff, what exactly do you have available for you as an option? Now, in the commercial side of things, you have Westlaw and you have LexisNexis. And, those are extremely expensive services. If you work at a law firm, maybe they pay for it, whatever. But I think Westlaw is the better of the two. I think most people who practice law would agree with that. But I have found that Westlaw is actually not that great for researching NLRB stuff. They only have board decisions and ALJ decisions. I think they have some GC memos, but it's not real easy to navigate. I don't know. Word searching it is not very effective. It takes a very long time. The thing that Westlaw is supposed to be kind of good at is, you can kind of track everything. So you can open a case and it'll have a little red flag or a little yellow flag that tells you, oh, be careful, this case may have been overruled or distinguished or something. Those flags are totally useless in the NLRB cases. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't found Westlaw to be that great. It is the best, I think, of the things that exist right now, but it could be a lot better. And that's because, the NLRB, it's a niche area of law. That I don't think that's where most of the people who buy Westlaw are focused on the NLRB. The other option, if you're going for the free option, is to use the NLRB website, which I have pulled up here. And this is interesting. You see these cases and stuff. The problem with the NLRB website is just it's so difficult to search anything on it. It takes forever. Then you got to download the PDF, and it's a mess. And the other problem with it is, as we'll see here in a minute, and you can see on the tabs here, all these different things on the tabs, these are different sort of documents, sort of legal documents that the board puts out. These are kind of the core ones. There are a few other ones that I didn't include in my most recent database because I find they're not that useful. But these, what are they? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. These 9 document types, you can't search them all together. So you have to search one at a time, and it's not fun. But let me give you a demonstration here, okay? So this is for board decisions. So the 5-member board, usually a 3-member board, they issue a decision in a case. That's the top level of board law. If the board issues a decision, I think they issue 200 some odd a year. That decision, that's the top area of law. And so, there are, I don't know, like 50,000, 65,000 of these decisions or something going back to 1935. So let's search. So let's say I wanted to know about, I don't know, unlawful discharge. I don't know. Okay, so I search it. Now, watch how long it takes. First off, the page just goes white, which is very disconcerting. And we're just sitting here. I wish I'd put up a timer or something, but you'll see the difference. Oh, okay, finally it's come up. And you get these cases here. Did it come up at all, or is this just a sequential? Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, so here's some cases. You can go through, there's 9 of them, or how many pages? I don't know. Okay, so we click one of these. Boom, it pops up. That's nice. That's pretty cool. And then you read the case, right? But you saw how long it took. And let's say you wanted to search for a specific case. That can be really difficult because there's no fields. There's not like an advanced search option where you can say, oh, I only want to search through the citations. Now, you can click through this and try to do just the citations. But what if I only wanted to search case names, for example? And I didn't want to get all the cases that mention the cases. That would be a mess. So let's say, right line is probably the most applied case in board history. We search for right line. We're going to get a ton of cases, but do we get the right line case? Or how would we make sure we get the right line case? Look how long it takes. Good Lord. No right line to be found here. As you can tell, I know it's 1980, so let me see how long it would take me to find it by just kind of clicking. 1980. I guess if it'd probably be the last case, right? Because that would be the first time they mention it, unless there are many cases that talk about right line. You see what I'm saying? It's a mess. All right. So that's for board decisions. That's for published board decisions. They also have unpublished board decisions. It's the same basic setup, right? And these are for lesser decisions, usually things like special requests for review and little motions and whatever. They don't put those out in the formal volume, so they're unpublished. But you could search through those. Regional election decisions. So you file a petition wanting to represent a unit, and the employer objects, and so the region issues an election decision saying, yep, nope, that's an okay unit. We're going to hold an election on this and this day and whatever, right? So you can search through those as well. Administrative law judge decisions. So, if you have a case, the first thing it does is it goes to an administrative law judge, and then the board just kind of reviews the ALJ's decision. So those are useful because there's a ton of ALJ decisions that never go up to the board because they settle afterwards. But those cases contain a lot of useful information. They're not precedential. They don't establish board law. But if you're just researching and trying to learn more about a certain topic, seeing, dozens of ALJ cases that you can read through, and see what they cite and see their arguments and whatever can be really useful. Then we have the general counsel memos. These are essentially like guidance memos that the GC puts out every so often. These are really good, very useful. Advice memos. You can't even search the advice memos. There's not even a search option. So you just click one and see what's up with that. What happened at Kona Grill? Who knows? Gotta read this whole thing. Not what I'm looking for. Then we have the operation management memos. These are mostly not all that useful. Weirdly, there was a case, OM 727, that probably should have been a GC memo. That one's really important, but it's in the OM memos. Appellate court briefs. Okay, so remember, you start at the ALJ. You run your case through there. The ALJ issues a decision. Then you go to the board, and the board reviews the ALJ. They either agree or disagree, or they partially agree, or they modify the ALJ's decision. Then at that point, you can go up to the circuit court if you want to appeal the board's decision. And when you go up to the circuit court, of course, the board's going to defend its decision, and defending its decision, it's going to file an appellate brief, right? I filed one of these, actually, when I was at the board. I wrote one. So those are cool because it's just another area where you get to see the board explaining its law, lots of cites, whatever. You might find something that's useful. Can't search them. Can't search them. You know, this is an important case. Can't search them. And then we have the injunction litigation branch appellate brief. Same kind of idea. This one is, so before going to the ALJ, sometimes you have an unfair labor practice that's so bad that they need to kind of halt it, right? Instead of waiting to go through the process, they want to halt it up front to preliminary injunction. And so they'll go straight into a federal district court to do that. They only do 40 of these a year or something. But sometimes you go into the district court, you try to get an injunction on some activity, and the district court says no, and then you appeal that into a circuit court. Those appellate briefs can be useful. They might have useful law, useful cites, just kind of stuff to read, right? To see what people, maybe an issue arose in one of these cases that's relevant to yours, and you want to see what the cites are so you can go read those cases. Okay. Anyways, as you can see, we got, what is it, 8, 9? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We got 9 different document types. Some of them are searchable, some of them aren't. You certainly can't search them all together, and when you do try to search them, it takes forever. So what are we going to do about that? So what I did was I got all of these decisions, put them in a big database, and as you can see, this is local. I'm running this off like a local server, but you could put it on a website as well, and that's what I'm looking to do at some point. Using Dataset, which is this great software that makes this real easy for people like me who sort of know how to program, but not really at the level that, I should be at. Anyways, so we have this data, and we can load it up here. All right. So you see 90,303 rows. That's how many documents are in my data set. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hide the text column. So as you can see, I just take the text from all of these different cases and I put it in a text column. And then that text column is searchable, right? So these are all the decisions, and look how up to date it is, 425. This was from yesterday. I got everything. It's sorted by date, so you can go through. And yeah, so I'm going to show you some searches, but look at the case types, right? We have unpublished board decisions. That's this one up here, if you can see the tab I'm highlighting. We got ALJ decisions. We got published board decisions. We got regional election decisions. We got the board appellate briefs. What else we got here? GC memos. Look at that. An OM memo. See that one right there? All those cases, all the 9 types are in here. Every one of them, all the files, okay? And they're all text searchable. Okay, so let's start with a search. So what did I do over here? I did write line, okay? So you remember how long write line took, and then we couldn't even find the fucking thing? Okay, so I'm going to do write line here as well. Boom. And you can actually scroll to the bottom here and see how long it took. Let's see. It's kind of small, 879 milliseconds, which is 0.879 seconds. So a fraction of a second to pull up all 5,930 rows where write line is used. Now these results come in this table, which is really cool, right? So you get the date, the name of the case, essentially, in this case, Starbucks. This is the citation for the ALJ decision. This is the case number. And this is the judge. So you can also search for a judge if you wanted to. And then you get the URL. So look, if I want to read it, boom. There it is. Isn't that cool? And then we could see where's write line. All right, you see right there, right line comes up. Just Control F it. Now, I want to actually find the right line case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into this, and I want to actually search right line in the name of the case. Remember the other one, we couldn't do that. Now, right now, this search box kind of searches all of these fields. Well, actually, it searches this field, this field, this field, and the full text field, which I've hidden. And it does it with the full text search indexing, if you're familiar with that. You can also do a linear search for any one of these fields. So if I hit name and then I hit contains, which just gives us the like thing for SQL, I can search right line there. And now you see this is a linear search, so it's going to take longer than the full text indexing search. But, oh wait, I don't need the quotes. Sorry. The quotes are necessary for this box, but for this box you don't want the quotes because it takes them literally. All right, there it is. So we just take all the, see, it only searched this box for right line. And then this is the case that we're looking for right here, 1980. Pull it up. Boom. Read the right line case. Now you can also actually full text search a specific column, but for now, I'm still working on it. But you know, it works. For now, the way that you would do that is you have to modify the URL. All right, so if you look in the URL here, you see how it says search right line. So if we put a little comma here and put name, it'll search it. You see how fast that was? So that uses the full text search indexing. So it's boom, boom, boom. So if you have enough patience to write that in, you can also make it super fast. And there it is again right there. And so yeah, you can, what's cool about this is you can just see every case there where someone's applied right line. And you can get the most recent case, check it out, cite it, super easy. This is the most recent ALJ case. This is the most recent published board case, right? What else we got here? Okay, so someone wanted to know about CMEX. So I put this out on Twitter. I said, tell me what you want me to search. And someone said, okay, what about CMEX? Now, CMEX was this case they decided last year, I think, and it changed the way that union representation petitions work. I won't go too much into that, but the case is called CMEX. So let's just say, I've heard about this thing called CMEX. All right, we get 36 rows with CMEX in it. We're looking for the good one. Now I know that CMEX is a recent case. So I believe it's this one right here. But one thing we can do here is we want to narrow it to published board decisions, right? So we can switch to type equals published board decision, right? Because we know that it's a published board decision. And then you get 7 rows, right? That makes things a lot easier. And there it is. This is the one right here, I believe. Let's open it up and see what we got. This is the Gissel. Yeah, this is the case. If you want to read, it's 120 pages. But here's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I want to see how many cases cite to this case. So I can just take this citation here. You got to be a little bit careful, but for recent ones, you can just take the citation here, and I'll go ahead and just pop that into the search box, right? Now we got 17 cases citing that case. So you see the bottom case is going to be the one we just did, because that's the first time that citation's ever going to appear. And then from here, these are all the cases that have cited that case. So if you've ever used Westlaw, you can click, there's a little tab that says citing references. I don't know, but it's all the cases that cite that one. That's all like manually done. Here, I'm just text searching to achieve the exact same thing. And you saw how fast that was. Immediate. I mean, what is the time here? 169 milliseconds. So less than 0.2 seconds to get every case that has cited CMEX. What else? So Oakwood Healthcare. That's a big one. This is the leading case that determines what a supervisor is, right? So you're going to get a bunch of those. 1,000 rows, 1,000 cases citing Oakwood Healthcare, right? And you can just go to the most recent one, open it up. Oakwood Healthcare, and you can see, how this all works. Sorry, I'm trying to move quickly here. The board defines a sign. So in this case, I think what happened was, so when you're trying to prove supervisory status, not to go too deep into it, the burden is on the employer to prove that you're a supervisor. And in the statute, there are these 12 tasks that a person, if they do one of them while exercising independent judgment, are a supervisor. So the employer basically has to pick which of those 12 tasks, and there may be multiple, that they're claiming that employee does that makes them a supervisor. And then, the board will look at that and say, all right, so in this case, the employer said, oh, I think he assigns, projects, tasks to people. So we go in and we say, oh, well, what does assign mean? Well, assign refers to the act of designating an employee to a place, appointing, blah, 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 and then we get the site to Oakwood Healthcare, right? More sites to Oakwood Healthcare. How many sites are there to Oakwood Healthcare? There's 21 sites in this one case here. Now, again, if we're trying to get the Oakwood Healthcare case itself, again, for the time being, we're just going to switch this to name. And there it is. Right here, this one. See how easy that is? There's the case that defines what a supervisor is. And here, remember we were talking about assign? Here it is. This is where he's getting it from. That regional election decision is based on this treatment right here. Look how quickly you can pull it up. Amazing. What else? Okay, so one that I love recently is we have Stericycle. Stericycle is this case that defines what a coercive rule is. And so here we can get everything that reference Stericycle. So this is the recent GC memo that determines, that lays out how Stericycle applies. Or rather, it lays out how Thrive, this case called Thrive, applies to cases involving coercive rules under Stericycle. But anyways, let's open the GC memo. You can see what that looks like. There's the GC memo. We can Control F Stericycle to find where it's at. And here it is right here. We get how many sites to it? We get 3 sites to it in this case. And we can find the Stericycle decision in here. Again, what I'll do is I'll just switch the the URL gets a little ugly after a while. I'll switch it here. Now, as you can see, Stericycle is a big company. They have 43 cases. But the Stericycle decision that we're talking about is, in fact, this one right here. I guess let me go back. Okay, so if I'm trying to find the Stericycle decision, because there's a bunch of cases called Stericycle, right? Look here, I can take the site right here, and I can just move with that, right? So now I don't think I can just put that, but if I put this in, I believe this will show up in the Stericycle case itself. Oh, well, now we're going to get all the cases that cite that as well. Well, what we can do is we can put search. We can do search, comma, citation. Boom, there it is. Now, in a final form, I could do this in the search box and shit, but, I'm just showing you how this works because that's just interface stuff. But you saw how quick that was, and that's just one. This is the case. So if you just put that citation in the citation box, how long did that take? Less than 0.2 seconds. Pull the case up. There it is. You can read the Stericycle decision. It's a wonderful decision, by the way. I love this decision. 37 pages. It goes through the whole history of coercive rules at the board. It's a beautiful, beautiful decision. But what you would want to do with this is, okay, so I have a case involving a coercive rule. I know Stericycle is the new test for coercive rules. So I want to find all the applications of Stericycle, right? It was decided, what is this, August 2nd, 2023, right? So I want to see all the cases that have cited to it to see if they have like some of the rules that I'm interested in. So first off, I'm just going to type this in and we get all the cases. So there's 25 documents, some GC memos, some ALJ cases, some published board cases. Here's an advice memo, right? All the documents. Remember, in the other one, you can only search one type of document. So you'd have to do 9 searches to get this, if you could even get it. And it would take you 5-10 minutes. You saw how long, how long did this take? Less than 0.1 seconds, right? All right, so I got Stericycle loaded up. This is essentially and. Also, I would always put quotes around these things. But these are essentially and type operators, right? So let's say I wanted to do a non-disparagement clause, right? Okay, so we got 4 cases where we get a citation of Stericycle and has the phrase non-disparagement, right? And so let's open Big Green and see what it has to say about non-disparagement. The severance documents contain both a confidentiality provision and a non-disparagement provision. The analysis of whether the severance agreement violated the Act is governed by the board's decision in McLaren-McComb, etc., etc. So this is actually a McLaren-McComb case, but Stericycle is cited in it separately for confidentiality requirements during an investigation. But that's cool. So let's try this one. This is the other case that cites Stericycle and uses the word non-disparagement. Here we go. Here's a provision in an employment agreement that includes a non-disparagement provision. Right? Employees will not publicly criticize, ridicule, disparage, or defame the company or its products or services, blah, 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 blah. Okay? So what do we get here? We get this app. See, here's Stericycle. Okay? The rule prohibits employees from publicly criticizing or disparaging its company. The board has long held that Section 7 activity includes employees voicing their concerns about working conditions to the public. The concern is more egregious here as the rule itself explicitly prohibits employees from causing or cooperating with others. Cooperation with others, protect a concerted activity, to make these critical comments to the public. The language encompasses protected activity, right? So the language of this non-disparagement clause encompasses protected activity. As such, the rule is presumptively unlawful, and the burden shifts to the employer to demonstrate a legitimate substantial business reason for it. The respondent says the rule is put in place to avoid impaired business operations that may come in the form of a hostile work environment. To support its case, it cited other cases that were overruled by Stericycle. The rule at issue here, blah, 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 blah. In these circumstances, respondent's maintenance of its non-disparagement rule violates Section 881 of the Act. You see what I'm saying here? Easy peasy. You've got a case involving a non-disparagement clause. This is the one you want to cite right here. It's an ALJ decision, but you cite the Stericycle and then you point the board agent to this ALJ decision. They'll find it anyways. But what are some other ones? So let's do McLaren-McComb, because someone asked me about the Crowder case that I'm working on. If you are unfamiliar, I filed an unfair labor practice charge against Louder with Crowder because Louder with Crowder attempted to enforce a non-disparagement clause in a severance agreement against one of their former employees. So let's say you didn't really know that. You didn't know about McLaren-McComb. You know, most labor lawyers should know certain things, so it'll be real easy for them. But I don't know, if you're a regular person, we don't know about McLaren-McComb, but we know that we have non-disparagement in a severance agreement. So let's see what we can pull up there. Ha, 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 there it is, right? McLaren-McComb. Amazing. Now look at this. This is actually a board appellate brief. McLaren-McComb is being appealed in the Sixth Circuit. So let me show you what we can do here, all right? One, we can obviously just look at the appellate brief, see how the board defends itself. But look at the case number. Let's take the case number here. And let's put it, I'm just going to do the linear search because I'm not totally sure how to do the thing. So let's do the linear search. And, oops, don't want that. Sorry, I picked the wrong thing. A lot of bloat up here in the URL. Again, this is more of a interface issue than anything else. All right, so we have the case number. Now here's the interesting thing. If you search the case number, you can kind of get a little history of the case, right? So remember when I told you it starts out with the ALJ, McLaren-McComb, then it goes up to the board, right? And then if it goes to the circuit court, we get a board appellate brief. Look at that. You can read all three of them right there if you want. Anyways, we got McLaren-McComb here, and we figured out, okay, that's the case that deals with severance agreements and non-disparagement clauses. Okay, so, you know, I don't know, you could read that, or you could just check it out, see what's going on as far as citations are concerned. What, you know, how many cases have cited McLaren-McComb? All these cases. So remember, the bottom case is this is the case, and then these are all the citations. So we have a guidance memo, a GC memo related to McLaren-McComb. You could read that, see what it has to say. What does it say about disparagement? You know, the severance agreement at issue in the case contained an overly broad non-disparagement provision, right? Specifically, the non-disclosure provision contained a non-disparagement clause. And then you've got these questions. This is her like FAQ about the decision. I love this question, by the way. I cited this question in a district court case that I was in. What if employees themselves request broad confidentiality or non-disparagement clauses, right? So what if you know they negotiated into their severance agreement, which is ridiculous. No one would do that. But I love the answer, which is, in the unlikely scenario, I would reiterate that the board protects public rights that cannot be waived in a manner that prevents future exercise of those rights, regardless of who initially raised the issue. Yes, 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 yes. We are not here facilitating individual contracts. We're here protecting statutory rights. Those rights cannot be waived, even if you want to waive them. You can't do it. And one of the reasons you can't do it is because you have to be ready and available for other coworkers, including former coworkers, to work with you, right? They have to be able to coordinate with you. And if you sign away your rights, they can't do that. So you signing away your rights actually affects their rights. Anyways, this is a beautiful decision, but and a beautiful articulation of this point. But, you know, you can read all this. Are there ever non-disparagement provisions in severance agreements that are found lawful? You can read all that. You see what I'm saying? And any of these cases, we got an ALJ case that cites it. We've got the board appellate brief where it's an issue, in addition to this one that we talked about before. Another board appellate. So this case has multiple board appellate briefs, apparently. And then we got this most recent case. And, you know, it applies it. So, yeah, I don't know. So, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Everything's cool. Let's see. Is this like a way to, yeah, so you kind of reset the database by just clearing it all and hitting apply. Maybe that's probably a better way to go than to just keep, you know, goofing up the URL. That was causing some weird results there for a little bit. But I mean, you can also just have fun with it. What are some goofy things that you can do? Someone on Twitter asked me to search for defecated. And yeah, there you go. Oh no, he said defecate. I think defecate. Slightly different, right? So if we search defecate, we get this case. This is the most recent case that includes the word defecate, which is 2006. And let's go ahead, Control F it. Here we go. All right. This appears to be an issue of someone issued a threat, theoretically, and they called the police, and there was some question about whether that was illegal. This is a funny case, okay? So the general counsel, what happened here was the employee said that he was going to shit in I think a supervisor's truck. He said, "I'm going to shit in your truck." They were having a fight. So the general counsel says, look, you can't call the cops on that because it was uttered in a construction site setting. And the ALJ plays dumb here and goes, she, referring to the general counsel, does not elaborate on this concept or cite any authority for it. But I suspect she's referring to widespread recognition that persons involved in contentious labor disputes often resort to crude language. I would say that is not what she was referring to. What she is referring to is that everyone knows that there's a lot of cussing, a lot of foul language in certain kinds of professions, including on construction sites. But whatever. So, the ALJ goes with it for a second, says, look, since both of the people who are in this verbal fight use profanity, I would tend to agree that just because they said shit, you can't call the cops or retaliate against them. Except in this case, the use of the word shit was not just like, the way you might throw it off, like, this dumb shit we're doing or whatever, but instead was literally used to mean to defecate. In particular, he was expressing a future intention to defecate inside Coleman's truck. And then I love this line here. It requires no citation to authority to note that this would violate a long-standing human taboo, one that is certainly reinforced by the modern scientific understanding of the link between human feces and disease. And we get a footnote. Of course, I cannot say whether Sager was remotely serious about this. We are all prone to making stupid statements in the heat of emotion. Nonetheless, it was certainly an odd, bizarre, and troubling thing to say. Anyways, long story short, the ALJ decided to say that was sufficient enough threat to call the cops. And it makes sense in the context of the case, I guess. I wouldn't have reached that decision myself, but Paul Buxbaum, as you can see here, he seemed to think that was the appropriate decision. So, that's pretty much it. As you can see, the main thing here is just speed. Like, I don't know. What are some things we could search here? Lutheran Heritage. That was the case before Stericycle and before Boeing. Look how quickly it pulls up all 950 cases that mention Lutheran Heritage in less than 0.3 seconds. The interface, obviously, there's some other cool things you can do here. One, if you want to, you can just write the SQL query yourself. So you can switch over to this tab and you can just modify the SQL query directly, which is cool if you're into that. And then you can take the information here and export it as a CSV. So you can basically get this in a spreadsheet and you could share it with someone, right? So you could take this, save as Lutheran Heritage.csv, and then you would have something you could open in Excel or whatever, and you could send that to someone, and then they could read through the cases if they wanted to, right? So anyways, it's pretty cool. And I don't know what I'm going to do with this yet. I don't really, like I said, I know enough to be able to do this, but I don't really know enough to go to the next level. I kind of think I can't just put this just literally straight up on the internet for anyone to query because of like crawlers and I don't know, SQL stuff, especially since you can write your own SQL here. I think I got to be a little bit more careful about that. I also would like to make some money on this. It seems like people pay Westlaw like crazy amounts of money, and this is better than Westlaw. I should say it's more comprehensive than Westlaw. It's faster than Westlaw. It just is so smooth and 10 times better than board. I mean, another thing here's the NLRB. I know because I used to work there, and I've had board agents contact me after I've shown a little bit of what I can do. The stuff the NLRB lawyers use is way worse than this. Like the lawyers at the NLRB, which there are a lot of across the regions and in the headquarters and stuff, their jobs would be a lot easier and a lot faster if they could use this instead of what they actually use inside the agency, which is mostly Westlaw, but there's some internal tools and stuff. If they had this, it would be, so I don't know, like the NLRB contact me. I don't know, let me set this up for you or something. There's got to be a way. All the money people throw around on legal research tools, and this is by far the best legal research tool for anything at the NLRB. But yeah, I'll just leave it there for now. And let me know what you think. Hit me up in the comments. If you got ideas, you can send them to me. Matt@nlrbedge.com. nlrbedge.com. Matt@nlrbedge.com. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know. You might have some crazy ideas. Maybe you got money. Maybe you're an investor. Maybe you do web programming. Maybe you're a lawyer. I don't know. But like, I'm open to ideas about how to get this out and hopefully monetize it to some extent. The other thing here is like all this is like super low effort. I mean, I don't know. Like it's programmatic, right? So there's nothing manual about this. I have scripts and stuff that do all this and update it every day. They run. It takes a few minutes for them to run, and it's good to go. So that's going to mean like we can run this way cheaper than something like Westlaw. So hit me up, like I said, advice, tips, whatever you got. And yeah, I'm going to keep working on it. Thanks for tuning in.